Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show, and yeah, college football season is upon us. It's week 0, which somehow or another, in the NCAA's inimitable style, which is getting questioned every day, they decided to call this week 0 for a long time now when some teams can play. Ohio State doesn't open the season, the number one team in the country, until September the 5th, hosting Ball State for a just past noon start. And we're going to get into, in this podcast, we're going to get into some of the differences, the changes you're going to see around Ohio Stadium on that day. Some subtle, some not so subtle, but it's very interesting. I had a talk with a couple of officials at Ohio State today while I was on the field, and also in the new little suites they've added to the north end zone that are field level, but kind of cool because there are stadiums all across the country now that have field level suites, and you wonder, what do you get from that? Well, I'm going to get into that with Lauren Windle, who's basically the senior director of premium seating for Ohio State. It includes both Ohio Stadium and the Schottenstein Center. We're going to talk about that and some of the perks that come along with that seating. But AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys plays, have had it for decades. That field level, Nebraska. I remember seeing those field level seats at Nebraska the first time I ever went to a game there, way back in 2011. And most of probably the pro stadiums, NFL stadiums, have that kind of seating, which is field level, which means somebody can be in your way. But sometimes being part of that atmosphere is what really sells those things. So we'll get into that. And I'll get into it with Mike Penner, who's the Executive Associate AD and for internal operations. In essence, he's in charge, the lead administrator for facility operations. I could name off everything on his resume, but it would take me 4.5 minutes. But he's basically sort of the overseer of all these changes that Ohio Stadium has gone through this year. We'll be going through next year. As you well know by now, Ross Bjork going into what is, I guess this is his 3rd full year, right, as athletic director? Yeah, I believe that's right. Time moves along quickly, but he's about as youthful as it comes in that position. But just the changes that he's been pushing for a while now, it's like instead of talking about some things, getting some things done, and we all know about that. But he's green-lighted all of these things, and more is going to be coming as the years go on. But it's really interesting to see Ohio State trying to stay with or ahead of the times when it comes to its facilities, not the least of which is the Ohio Stadium, first opened for business in 1922. And to keep it a viable event venue as opposed to tearing it down and building something else, that is a labor of love. It's a labor of dollars. It's a labor of trying to get the next best thing in the stadium in terms from anywhere from Wi-Fi, so everybody is better served with their Wi-Fi at their seats, to slowly but surely getting bathrooms added, getting premium seating put in, getting suite seating put in, like the 1922 club, for example. But this field level suites, which you'll notice sort of, they don't really jump out at you as much as the premium seating right above them in the south end zone. And we all know that last year they moved the band to the north end, the closed end of the stadium, of the horseshoe, back where it used to be, to make way for some of these changes. But I don't know. Ohio Stadium always has been a marvel to me ever since I first moved up here, and it only seated 87,000. That seats 105, and some of that 105 is in supreme comfort. But we'll get to that in a minute. It was fun taking a tour of the facilities today. And by the way, the facility also includes brand new artificial turf. And I'll get into that with Mike Penner a little bit and what he really likes about it. And this is a guy, man, I mean, there have only been a few of these caretakers of the stadium over the years, and they had kind of feel it in their bones. And Mike Penner, from Ohio, has been at Ohio State for more than 30 years. He really feels what the obligation is to keep that place rolling the way it does. But before that, and I'm not going to talk about what's going on in college football right now in terms of the SEC and the Big Ten and the Big 12, at least the last time I looked, were the three leagues that had put out statements that they weren't going to get involved in the, what do you want to call it, the circus, the zoo that's going on right now, where teams are trying to, are being given the green light, they think, to attract players who are getting cut by NFL teams, that those players with 1 year of eligibility going back to the 2022 season, trying to get them on their roster for one more glorious year. And, of course, we all know who's leading the pack is Lane Kiffin at LSU in the state of Louisiana, where even their governor is involved in all kinds of, I'm not going to call it shenanigans. I don't know what you would call it other than that, though. But it seems like every hour there's a new update where even though LSU is in the Southeastern Conference, LSU is still wanting to bring back a couple of players who have been on NFL rosters this preseason and either aren't making the teams or think they're not going to make the teams, and are pleading for a fifth instead of pleading for a fifth year of college football. Wish I'd thought of that earlier. That's a pretty good line by me. But the bottom line is, these guys, even if they make the practice squads on their NFL teams, they were probably going to make more money returning for another year in college, where they take part in both the revenue sharing and NIL opportunities. Crazy world we live in. That's called backtracking at its finest. But it looks like LSU and the Southeastern Conference and its commissioner Greg Sankey are at are butting heads. I almost said the other word. Are butting heads on this idea, because the SEC put out a fairly strong statement saying they're not going to take part in that. But LSU is bound and determined to take part in that. So we'll see where it all goes. Ohio State, as you heard Ryan Day say in my previous podcast, you got to keep all doors open when it comes to the things that are going on right now until things get delineated. And I think he actually made that comment to us in a press conference on Monday before the Big Ten put out a statement saying they were not going to be taking part. Its members were not going to be taking part in the rematriculation or the reverse matriculation of players from NFL rosters back to college football. So we'll see where it all goes. Of course, the courts will be very much involved in this. They're the ones kind of driving this wagon train. And come to find out, some of these players may have even been urged to plead their case in front of the courts, which started out with temporary restraining orders. But, of course, there was a class action suit that was granted by a judge in Colorado, which has been sort of put a quietus on, I guess is the best way of putting it. Is quietus even a legal term? Not sure. Have to look that up. I don't even know how to spell quietus, but I've heard it all my life. But by an appellate court, which said, no, you can't have a class action suit that just covers everybody who might be eligible for it. In essence, saying things have to be brought on an individual or maybe a group effort. Before the courts. So, yeah, it's crazy times, ladies and gentlemen, in college football. But I'll tell you what's not crazy is, I don't know if this is a very smooth segue or not. What's not crazy is the tight end room at Ohio State, because Ohio State lost two players to the NFL draft, Max Clare and Will Kazmarek. I do believe, if memory serves me, the first time in history Ohio State has lost two tight ends to the NFL draft in the same draft. It's crazy what Keenan Bailey and Ryan Day and the staff have done with that room. And they've got another chock full room right now of a couple of transfers and a couple of rising fellas who've stuck around for a while and are now getting their shot, like Bennett Christian, Nate Roberts, who was a fullback for the most part last year, although he was a tight end. They don't call fullbacks at Ohio State. They're just tight ends who can play either position. But it's pretty interesting. But we're gonna hear an extended interview that me and some of the media guys did with Mason Williams, transfer from Ohio University. If you remember correctly, Will Kazmarek transferred from Ohio University in 2024 and was part of that 2024 national championship team. Returned last year and teamed up quite a few guys in that room, but it was joined by Max Clare, who had transferred from Purdue, where I think he had been Purdue's leading pass catcher the year before. Didn't quite get as many passes at Ohio State, but got a few. But they played key roles for Ohio State going undefeated in the regular season last year, and then moved on to the National Football League. But Mason Williams kind of following in a little bit of a conveyor belt there behind Will Kazmarek, was at Ohio University and then transferred to Ohio State in January. And he's from the tiny town of Mogadore. Actually, it's a village of Mogadore, Ohio, about 8 or 10 miles east of Akron, but a village of like less than 4,000 people. And you can imagine, as he explains in the interview, you can imagine what kind of excitement that brought to that village to see one of their own become a player, and a guy who's probably going to play a pretty good bit this season at tight end for Ohio State. But he talks about his reasoning for that. He also talks about what having Arthur Smith as the new offensive coordinator at Ohio State, a fellow who was a National Football League head coach with the Atlanta Falcons, and before that a position coach and/or coordinator with a couple other teams in the NFL, including of late the Pittsburgh Steelers. He just talks about what it's been like to kind of embrace even a little bit more of a new way of doing things for the tight ends in the Arthur Smith offense. They are not going to be forgotten. That is for sure. By the way, but if Jeremiah Smith's open, throw it to him. I digress. But then he also, when he refers to Coach Key, he's referring to Coach Keenan Bailey, who has worked his way up through the ranks. He's been at Ohio State for a long time now, and he still looks very, very young. But he's worked his way up through the ranks, is now considered, in my opinion, one of the premier tight end coaches in college football, definitely one of the premier recruiters for tight ends in college football. And it's amazing the tight end position, the players that have come out of there, especially in the last couple of decades, but down through the years. I'll get into a little bit of a list of that after we hear from Mason Williams. But when you hear him, like I said, when you hear him refer to Coach Key, he's referring to Keenan Bailey, who's also, by the way, the co-offensive coordinator under Arthur Smith. So without further ado, let's get to a little interview opportunity we had with Mason Williams, just because it kind of puts in perspective a lot of things. Number one, the depth of the room, just when you think there might be shallow, they've reloaded. And also what it means to be a Buckeye, because he'll lay it out for you. And boy, when you're tight end, almost the last thing on your mind is catching a football, but when they do throw it to you, you better catch it. But he'll put into words what that means to him. One of his, maybe the most fun he has playing tight end. It may surprise you.
And his other offenses and stuff. So him coming here has really been a big deal for us. And the wealth of knowledge that he's been able to enlighten on us has been awesome.
What about what he does with the tight ends excites you?
Honestly, just the versatility. And, he was a tight end coach, so he kind of understands what is needed and what is best used to help us. So he puts us in the best positions every time to, go out there and make plays and go out there and, he's going to put us at the point of attack, if he trusts us. So being able to be there and be that spotlight is kind of a huge deal.
You say Keenan Bailey feels about your room right now?
Honestly, I think he is super excited. The depth that we have, there's no better place for a coach to be right now than, in our tight end room. He kind of has the mentality where he can throw any of us out there and, we're going to be able to make that play and ends and his other offenses and stuff. So him coming here has really been a big deal for us. and the wealth of knowledge that he's been able to enlighten on us has been awesome.
What about what he does with the tight ends excites you?
Honestly, just the versatility, and he was a tight end coach, so he kind of understands what is needed and what is best used to help us. So he puts us in the best positions every time to go out there and make plays and go out there and he's gonna put us at the point of attack. If he trusts us. So being able to be there and be that spotlight is kind of a huge deal.
How would you say Keenan Bailey feels about your room right now?
Honestly, I think he is super excited. The depth that we have, there's no better place for a coach to be right now than in our tight end room. He kind of has the mentality where any of us out there and we're going to be able to make that play, and he has that in us to go out there and compete every single day. So yeah.
Is there even a pecking order at this point? Do you even care about that?
Honestly, he uses tight ends and his other offenses and stuff. So him coming here has really been a big deal for us. And the wealth of knowledge that he's been able to enlighten on us has been awesome.
What about what he does with the tight ends excites you?
Honestly, just the versatility, and he was a tight end coach, so he kind of understands what is needed and what is best used to help us. So he puts us in the best positions every time to go out there and make plays and go out there and he's gonna put us at the point of attack. If he trusts us. So being able to be there and be that spotlight is kind of a huge deal.
How would you say Keenan Bailey feels about your room right now?
Honestly, I think he is super excited. The depth that we have, there's no better place for a coach to be right now than in our tight end room. He kind of has the mentality where he can throw any of us out there and we're going to be able to make that play, and he has that confidence in us to go out there and compete every single day. So yeah.
Is there even a pecking order at this point? Do you even care about that?
Honestly, not really. It's kind of just like I said, he can throw any of us out there, and he's got trust in us. So I don't think he knows. I don't think, and none of us surely know what it's going to be like. So we kind of all just go out there every single day and try to do our best.
And last year you were using as many as 4 tight ends at once. I'm sure that's a point of pride for you guys. You envision that kind of versatility for this year's group?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think we have even more depth than they did last year in this room. So being able to throw as many of us out there, and like I said, Arthur Smith has a lot of trust in us, even all the way down to our 5th, 6th guy in the room. So when you can throw as many of us out there and that we're going to get it done, then why not?
What about your unique skill set when you bring to that title?
Yeah, honestly, for me, it's being able to put my hand in the dirt and move people at the point of attack, but also being able to, be split out wide and have that confidence in myself to go make a play and be able to move around, motion shift, kind of do all that thing that needs to be done, and have that mental capacity to, they can throw something on my plate the day of a game, and I'm going to go out there and get it done.
What's the best part about being a tight end? Your favorite part?
It's a good question. Honestly, I will say, people love catching balls and stuff. There's no better feeling than getting a pancake. Really, there isn't. When you can get a DN flat on their back, there really is no better feeling.
They just teach that in Ohio? Is that part of you and Jazz have that mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's an Ohio thing or just, they recruited those type of guys. I feel like that's kind of been something that I've grown up with my entire life from my dad and my brother and stuff. So obviously OU was looking for that type of mentality. So I think they found 2 good guys with us.
You said everybody in your town. You said everybody in your town was an Ohio State fan. What was it like then in January when you decided to come here?
Yeah, I mean, I think my phone had notifications for about a week straight. To be honest, I don't your mom puts it out there on Facebook. I'm getting Facebook DMs and stuff. It was crazy. I couldn't go anywhere around Mogador without getting stopped. Hey, congratulations! That was awesome. So it was a pretty surreal feeling.
Have you had an adjustment at all to just being at this level, practicing against these types of athletes on a daily basis?
Yeah, honestly, a little bit. OU's D1, we have great guys. There's been people there that have come from big schools down, or people that have started there and gone up. So, you always kind of have that competition. The thing that really gets me is, I stand beside JJ. Julian's my quarterback. I'm going against KJ, and that's the type of level that this is at, where it's, I'm not just playing against people who might be in the league, but I'm going against people who are going to be, top 5, top 10 draft picks. And then even all the way down to like the third string DNs, like those guys are also going to go and become those type of players. So that's really where the difference lies.
You practice against it every day, but you've also game planned against the Matt Patricia defense. What is that process like in terms of the different looks and things that he throws at you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like now it's a little more in depth just because, our offense knows what our defense runs. They're able to talk with them and, go through it. When I was at OU and we kind of game planned against them and stuff, it was more like look specific and stuff. Like right now we're kind of, game planning for everything, and, he throws at us what he wants to throw at us, and we have to figure it out, right? So I think that's kind of like the biggest difference.
How much the adjustment is obviously one thing, Ohio to Ohio State, but you went from a pretty young, energetic position coach, Kyle, to another one. Like, how has that adjustment been going from coach to coach, and what do you like the similarities there? It seems like they are kind of similar coaches.
Yeah, I will say, like, having a young coach is the best thing in the world. Like, having someone that's able to relate to you and, be able to bring stuff out of you that older coaches might not be able to do. That's really, like, they're both energetic. They're both awesome. I will say Coach Key's a little more, like, at you than Coach Obley was, which, drawbacks, and there's good things about it too. But yeah, like I said, Coach Key is one of the main reasons I came here, just because I knew how much that he was like Coach Obley, and I loved Coach Obley, and obviously I've grown to love Coach Key.
Do you think the fact that Will was successful here at Ohio State, how much do you think that had an effect on getting the call from Ohio State, and just the fact that sort of they've been productive here?
Yeah, I do think that it definitely helped me get that call from them. I do think that, because Will was so successful, that they had faith in what we were doing there, and gave me that opportunity to come and be here. And I think that I've came and proven myself to be at that level. So
when in your football career did you become a tight end? If you follow my drift, I mean, a lot of times guys like you play quarterback in Pee Wee or something.
Right.
When did you realize, hey, this can be more fun than just being the third tackle on the team?
Yeah. Honestly, I played running back all the way up until 7th, 8th grade. Kind of got moved to tight end 7th, 8th grade. Then once I got to high school, kind of transitioned back to being kind of a tight end running back hybrid.
Yeah.
So I kind of played both. And then I played running back all the way up until like my senior year pretty much. And then obviously I played tight end in college.
Is it amazing you how diverse the position is now? I mean, when did you realize, hey, they do a lot of things here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, being a running back and all that stuff growing up has kind of helped me be a tight end, because of, I have that type of versatility now, and I kind of look at a game a different way. I don't just see it just as a tight end. You have to see it as a wide receiver. You have to see it as a linebacker. You have to see it as, quarterback. You have to see it as a DB. That type of thing. You have to be able to see it from all type of lenses, just to, kind of get going at it.
So how different are the mental reps that you might have to take in on this offense when there's a different type of motioning, different types of picking up an end, picking up a linebacker, running out on a route? Just how different are those mental reps, and how quickly you feel like you pick them?
Right. I mean, we mental rep every rep, like every single one. It doesn't matter if we're in a walkthrough, we're in a scrimmage, we're doing anything. Like if you don't know the play call and you don't know what's going on, if you're not in the play, like, you're wrong. And I do think that it took a while to get used to, the pro style offense that he runs. But I think that we've all kind of gathered it pretty quickly. I think that the coaches have done a good job at getting us into a rhythm and kind of getting us around it more. And I think like all the walkthroughs and stuff that we do have really helped, and like I said, you take all those mental reps, you're not just taking the 2 reps when you're in, but you're also taking the other 8 when, everyone else is in, and you get to just stand back there and watch and kind of see what your mind would be like if you were playing it.
Did you wear one of the tight end NFL jerseys when you guys moved into the team hotel?
No, sadly I didn't get to. They gave it to the people who play with them here. Yeah.
Who organized that?
Our tight end coach. Yeah, Coach Key.
Keaton Bailey?
Yeah.
Did he order the jerseys, or he just had them sitting around?
I think he had them. Yeah, he's going to put them up, and then he just gave them to us to wear.
And so what do you think of that legacy of Ohio State tight ends and what they're doing in the league?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome, right? I mean, I don't feel like a lot of people look at Ohio State as a huge tight end school. And I think that now that we have so many people that are starting to get there and, starting to show out, it's kind of starting to get more looks at us from that type of level. So I think it's really helped us as a group when the older people and the people who have come before us kind of go out there and do their thing.
Pretty interesting. I mean, listen to this list. Obviously, we talked about Will Kazmarek and Max Clare. And then, before them, Cade Stover, Jeremy Ruckert, Luke Farrell, Nick Vanette. Those guys are all still in the league, playing various roles for various teams. I'm talking about tight ends from Ohio State. You look down through the ages, Jeff Hireman, Jake Ballard, who's part of a Super Bowl winning team where he blew out his knee and was never the same again, but is one of my golfing buddies. And we've won a couple of scrambles together along with a couple other also-rans. No, I'm just joking. I didn't call you an also-ran, Moose. But, Ben Hartsock, John Frank, who's part of, I think, 2 Super Bowl winning teams with the San Francisco 49ers. He's still, when you think about tight ends at Ohio State, he set the bar. No doubt about it. John Frank did in the early 1980s. Ricky Dudley in the mid-90s. He was talked into playing tight end at Ohio State. Obviously, he came to Ohio State on a basketball scholarship. And Walt Harris, who had just become the quarterback's coach, basically passing game coordinator, revamped Ohio State's offense, convinced Ricky Dudley, that 6'7", 235-pound guys are a dime a dozen in the NBA, but they're still very special specimens when it comes to playing even in the NFL at the tight end position. And he had a hell of a year in 95 and became a first-round draft pick. And then you go all the way back, Rory, in between there, you had Rory Nickel, one of my favorite guys ever, Jake Stoneburner also. These guys got a little bit of time in the National Football League. And then all the way back to 1968, a super soft Jan White, who was part of that 1968 National Championship team under Woody Hayes, played through 1970, and then went to the NFL for a while. Ohio State's had a tight end lineage, but maybe not as stacked a room as it's had the last several years. And Cade Stover, came in as I'll play any position kind of player, and ended up at tight end, and now he's with the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud. And so you never know where you're going to end up when you play tight end or end up having to play or being moved to tight end at Ohio State. And so good for him, Mason Williams. He kind of laid it out there. The reason I like that interview, he kind of laid it out there of what's expected of tight ends at Ohio State, which is pretty much almost everything, from maybe lining them in the backfield as a fullback to splitting out to getting into the slot to blocking on the edge. And like he says, he loves to pancake, which means knock defensive players over on their backside. That's a pancake block made famous by the iconic left tackle Orlando Pace in the mid-1990s at Ohio State. But boy, it was fun catching up with a young man from Mogador by way of Ohio University, now playing for Ohio State. Now let's get into that conversation I had today with Mike Penner. Basically, the ramrod for the changes that have been made at Ohio Stadium heading into this season. We talked about a few that will be coming next year, including a much larger, I call it replay screen, video screen, where they can put almost anything up there on the south end of the stadium. They've got a new one. You'll hear him talk about it during the conversation. The new one slightly larger on the north end, but you can only make that one so big since it extends down from the edge of D-deck or C-deck or whatever you call it now. But they can only make that one so large without blocking a lot of views. Of course, the one at the south end is on top of that seating area, and they can make that as large as they want to, but it promises to be huge. They did not, I repeat, take a page out of the Buffalo Bills new stadium handbook. So that's a joke, I guess, among stadium directors, stadium managers. But without further ado, let's get to my conversation with Mike Penner today, standing on the floor of a slightly remodeled still Ohio Stadium, by the way, that we talk about it, that includes that new artificial turf that was demanded after 4 years with the old stuff. They're in with the new stuff, and we discussed that and other things. Mr. Printer, you're large and in charge, and of all that's going on here, so to speak, or at least you're a good guy to ask questions about. But just in a nutshell, give us a little bit of a brief feel for what's different about Ohio Stadium now, and some of it's nuance and some of it's obvious. But what just jumps out to you? We'll talk about the field level clubs here in a minute, club seats here in a minute, but what just jumps out to you about this place?
Well, we put in a new field, right? And so even though the design is similar to years past, you will notice that there's the alternating color greens every 5-yard line. So we're super excited about that. You'll see some of the new ribbon boards on the east and west C-deck fascia. You'll see a new north video board, which is slightly larger than what we had previously.
It could only get so big, right, without blocking people's view.
That's right. You'll eventually see the Coach Tressel sign that goes in the Ring of Honor. We'll honor him the first game as well.
Crazy.
And then what people will notice is that our new South End Zone suites and South End Zone club seats. That we're really excited about, that provide a kind of a new premium opportunity for fans to enjoy the game.
Just your take on that, on those field level seats. What's the attraction from your vantage point?
I think it's being around in the action. Being close down. If you're there during the pregame, you get to see any celebrities or the players are
mingling.
15 feet away from you. They're warming up. You can kind of feel the game. It can be loud, noisy. It's an amazing experience to be on the field versus some other areas.
Are there going to be rules for people to be kneeling in front of these guys, or how's that going to work from a sightline standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, usually we would ask any of the photographers and media that we're working to kneel anyway, so that those policies won't change.
Yeah. You've been around for a while. I know you've known about Ohio Stadium your entire life. What does it feel like to be part of keeping it up and then basically keeping it up to snuff and then some from a modern standpoint? Because there's still concrete in this place from 1922.
It's very humbling, right? And there's so many amazing people that came before me. Obviously they built the stadium, they renovated the stadium 25 years ago. We still have an amazing stadium staff that has a lot of pride in the facility, and so I'm just blessed and humbled that I get to work with them and just kind of keep it going.
Yeah, and the other thing, the exercise of putting in new field turf, you think that's pretty easy? Dig out the old carpet and roll the new carpet in, right? And not quite that easy, but what excites you about this new field from your vantage point? I don't know if you wear cleats on game day, but
no, I really love the look of it. I really love the fact that we alternated the color greens. I think it pops really, really well. It's going to feel a little bit softer, but the old field was about 4 years old, so it's always fun to get something new.
Yeah. In the old days, they would mow one direction and then the other. I remember reading a book way back in 1962 in my library in Demopolis, Alabama, about the Army Mitchie Stadium, whatever it is, field, and the way they would have a guy go out there the day before the game, and he had a thing that raked the field one way and then the other just to look. Why is that important in your opinion?
I think it's just the look.
Yes.
I think everybody kind of appreciates how that looks, and it kind of identifies every 5-yard line for you.
Yeah. Now we talked about the north replay board, for want of another term, video board, being larger, slightly larger. As you and I were talking before we started here, the south end zone is going to get a huge board, right? Next year?
Well, it's going to get a larger board, and so the board, the speakers on the side, and they have that scrim where it says "Defend the Shoe" and Andrew. The board will expand out into that structure, and then come down and kind of replace those fixed digits that we don't use anymore. So it'll be that whole structure. The speakers will run across the top of the video board. The ribbon board that goes across right now is about 5 feet tall. It'll get larger to be 10 feet tall.
Wow.
And then we'll do a third row of names that who will be joining our Pay Forward Society.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's already a big board, though, isn't it? Isn't it amazing?
It is pretty big.
I keep telling my wife I don't get that 100-inch TV for my man cave.
That would
but
look good in your
it's kind of the same thing, though, right?
Right.
Bigger is better.
That's right. That's right.
I remember when they first had a replay board in here. You thought it was the greatest thing ever.
I know.
And it was about half that size.
Well, and it's not necessarily about the size too. It's just going to be new. It's going to come out alive.
Pop.
It'll pop like the ribbon boards are popping right now.
And like you and I were also talking, these new suites, field level suites, are portable. And they're portable for what reason?
They're portable because we want to continue to do concerts and have stadium events in here, and the concerts, the stages live down at this end.
Yeah.
And so,
which makes sense, right?
And the more that the stage is down at the south end, the more seats are available and more tickets that can be available to our guests.
Yeah, it's always the bottom line, right? When it gets right down to it. Right? Hey, by the way, what do these suites have in them? I'm going to talk to young ladies, kind of explain them to me, but do they all have like water and sewer hookups?
No, they'll be seating for like 12 in there, whether that's a stool or a chair. There'll be some soft furniture. There'll be a counter. There'll be a refrigerator underneath.
Yeah.
There's a portable restroom, disability restroom on the back side of it, but we've also renovated some restaurants of the restrooms in South Stands to kind of elevate the restroom experience for these guys.
I got you. Now I'm looking back up this way. Turn with me a little bit, but so I can still get you on my camera. But the 1922 Club, where is it located?
Yeah, so basically it's really in between gates 18 and 22, and so way back in 1950 they hung a structure on the bottom of B deck, and it served as classrooms for a long time.
Yeah.
Then essentially just became transition space, and so we are able to take that, gut it, and create a club in there. And so it kind of lives above the A concourse but below the B concourse.
A tweener.
A tweener.
Wow, that's cool. Right. Hey, has there been demand for that? I mean, there are other people I could ask. Well, I'll ask you that. You're up on top of things. I mean, are these things sold out?
We have these 9 suites are sold out. We have 400 seats that are going to be kind of above those. Those are sold out. And the game day membership for the 1922 Club are sold out as well.
Last thing, what excites you the most? Like you said, you've known about the Ohio Stadium since you were born. What excites you most about being part of all of this?
For me, quite honestly, and I get to enjoy this with my 10-year-old son, is when a team comes out and takes the field every game. There's just an energy, and the fireworks go off. Coach Day and the team, they run out on the field. It's just it's been almost 30 years, and the energy never wears off.
Yeah, that just gave me a little bit of chill bumps. But that was the intent when they built this thing in 22, right?
Yeah.
To celebrate the state of Ohio and what it all means.
100%.
And now you're one of the caretakers. Does that feel like a lot of responsibility?
It's an awesome responsibility, one I take very seriously, one that I'm grateful for those that came before, and I just feel an obligation to make sure we keep it going.
One of the great guys you'll run into as you delve into all the people it takes at Ohio State to keep Ohio State what it is, especially in the athletic department, the facilities. Euphemistically, we called, when they first started really going gangbusters on upgrading facilities, we called it Andy Land, because Andy Geiger was the athletic director at Ohio State then in the 1990s, the last half of the 1990s, and then first half of the 2000s. But they did have upgraded so many facilities across the place, added new things, some of which people like, some of which people maybe didn't like as much. But, the baseball stadium, the Jesse Owens track stadium, and where they also play soccer, the Covelli Center now over there, which has been a great facility for several sports, including wrestling and women's volleyball. And then, obviously the Schottenstein Center. Some people have knocked it because it was too big, maybe, or whatever. But when that place, I know the times that place has been full, it's been rocking. And if suddenly you need a 19,000-seat arena and you don't have one, It's not a good position. A lot of people have always thought it's better to have a too small arena and have a demand for tickets all the time. But man, just think about what you miss out on if you do get a big time college basketball team playing in there again. What just the revenue you can make from that. But just, I'm telling you, 19,000 people are still louder than 15,000. But people pine for one thing, one way or the other. You got to make decisions and move on with the future, because if you don't, you'll be mired in the past. I've always wondered, like with Ohio Stadium, whenever changes are made, there are some people who gripe about it, saying they're forgetting about tradition, whatever. And I go, well, the guts of the stadium are still there. I can take you and show them to you. The arches, the original arches, are still there. You can still see them when you go to a game. They left them in a revealing state, a lot of them. So you could see how big the stadium was then, and you thought that was big, how big it is now. But always, question, well, you know what? I mean, where do you want development and move to the future? Where do you want to stop, or where do you want to retrograde to? 1970? I mean, what's your date? Even then they were making changes off and on to Ohio Stadium. Heck, if you go back a long way, there were dorms in Ohio Stadium. You heard Mike Penner talking about that place they gutted, the area they gutted on the east side, where they had classrooms and things like that. I've been in there several times back in the past, looking for something. And they definitely gutted those. As a matter of fact, I think we even had post-game interviews at one point in one of those old classrooms in the southeast, sort of the southeast-ish part of the stadium, just north of the bell tower where it is now. The victory bell and the, hey, come play bell, come hither bell is what I call it, bringing it before a game as well as after, which is kind of cool in my opinion. Even Archie Griffin embraced it. Matter of fact, he was the first one to do it. So I don't know if he had to sign a waiver saying I embrace this, but I thought it's turned out to be pretty damn cool. But anyway, but then talk about the new. As I said, I talked with Mike Penner, but then also talk with Lauren Windle, who is the senior director of premium seating for Ohio State Athletics. Pretty much takes into account Ohio Stadium, which has seen its premium seating go from none way back in the day. I'm talking about premium as in club, access to club, those chair back seats in the middle of the western grandstands, all the way up to the private clubs, the suites, the B deck, mezzanine level club stuff that was put in, where people not only can watch games, but they can sell those for concerts. It's been pretty cool to watch the additions go in, and Lauren's been around for a lot of that. She doesn't look it. She looks young. Let's put it that way. But she's been working at Ohio State since 2009, and before that, I think she worked at several other schools over on the southeast or the East Coast. But the bottom line is, I had her just give a little bit of a tour of those field level club suites, which there's nothing super fancy about them, but what's mainly cool there is where they're located. And like I said, been privileged to go to several stadiums that have those, not the least of which is AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys play. Heck, the Cowboys walk through a club area, field level area, on their way to the back and forth to the field and the locker room. So it's been pretty popular for a while in a lot of places, and now it has come to Ohio State. So without further ado, let's get to what Lauren had to say as she gave me a quick tour of a club, of one of those suites that's still under construction, but as she guaranteed will be done by September 5.
Lauren, spell your name.
Yes, Lauren, Windle, Windle. Have some visitors.
I'm going to cut that part out. Sorry.
Lauren Windle, thanks for taking us on this quick tour.
Absolutely.
Of these field level suites, which are sold out, by the way.
Yes.
At $142,000 a pop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I want you to explain to people why it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because it's unique to Ohio Stadium. It's never been here before. Obviously, it's in stadiums around the country, around the world, really.
Yep.
Soccer stadiums, AT&T Stadium, where the Cowboys play, has been famous for its field level. And you go, well, what are these people getting for that? Because basically, it's hard to see the game.
Yeah.
And as you and I were talking before we started this, nobody's guaranteeing a 50-yard line seat here.
No.
They're guaranteeing up close access to the action,
Yep.
et cetera, and a few other perks maybe. But in your mind, what is the biggest attraction of this field level seating?
I mean, you are literally part of the game. So if somebody scores a touchdown right here, they're celebrating with you, which is just an incredible place to be. Yeah, I think everyone wants to be closer to the team, and this answers for that.
And if they score a touchdown at the other end, you can say, what happened?
Yeah,
then
you can just run into the
run
TV.
your suite and see
Yes,
it,
exactly.
see the replay. Well, come on, step on in here, because why don't you explain to people, I mean, these things were built fairly quickly, and as Mike Penner was pointing out to me, they're also portable.
Yes.
Because you have to be able to remove these if there's a concert in here, and this stadium is being used more and more for that kind of venue, correct? But what just jumps out to you about these, and ladies and gentlemen, these are not finished yet. They will be, I guarantee you, before September 5th when Ball State comes to town.
Yes. I mean, they are climate controlled, which I think all of our current suite holders on the west side might say that it can be very temperamental in a 100-year-old building.
Yes.
So we don't always know what it's going to be like up there, but here they are climate controlled. They will have their own AC and heating, which is very nice. We also have windows that open. Right now in our current suites, we do not have that. So you get that indoor-outdoor feel, which I think is really cool, and I think everyone wants it.
Oh, yeah. And then step on in is going to be what? In this suite, for example, the TV, large screen TV will be right behind you as you come through the door here, but it'll be on that wall. Like I said, if you miss something, you can always just turn around and see it.
Yep, absolutely.
Which is very nice. And then, for one of another term, will this be like the serving area, bar area? How would you explain it?
Yeah, so the suites do come with all-inclusive food. So they will basically pick from a package, and then our dedicated servers to the space will put all the food out here. So we'll have food over here. They do have an exit to go to their private restrooms if they need. And then we'll have some soft furniture over here, as well as a drink rail up here where they can watch the action.
Wow. How would you describe what the demand was for these suites? How many are there?
There are 9.
There are 9.
Yes.
I heard they sold out fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are always a little nervous to adopt something that's different.
Yeah.
We experienced the same thing with our loges when we added them back in 2019. People are like, oh, this is an end zone seat. This isn't a 50-yard line seat. But just like we learned with the loge, it's a new, unique, and different experience that I think people are going to absolutely love.
And there are some premium seats above this, right?
Yes.
Number one, what do they go for? What would you have to get? What do you have to join to get a seat up there?
Yeah, so we have 400 chair backs up above here. They were $6,000 a seat, and they do have access to the new 1922 Club, which was the huge selling point for those. So you will have all-inclusive in-seat service, but then you also have access to go in and out of the 1922 Club throughout the game and enjoy that space.
What is your background? Why are you sort of large and in charge of this kind of area? Give people a little bit of a feel for what you're all about.
Oh boy.
Mike Penner's been around here for like 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, I've been here for 17 years actually. I know I look really young.
Yeah, you actually, yes you do.
I've been here for 17 years, so I've worked with a lot of our premium clients. So you do learn what people do and do not want to see. We knew that people really wanted an upscale club, and the 1922 Club answers that. We also don't have a club on our east side, so that was a huge selling point. But we always have demand for our club seats. And so that's why we built the chair back seats as well.
So you've been around for a while. That's the reason I knew you had. I wanted to see what would come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, you've seen this stadium a metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Some of it is, what do they call it, subcutaneous? You know what I mean? Below the skin, but some is above. But do you marvel at how this stadium has run through a metamorphosis of becoming more and more modern by the day?
Yeah, and I think what's really neat is a lot of our premium spaces too, we took underutilized spaces.
Yeah.
So our loge box, for instance, those were mostly B deck seats that were obstructed, and it was a terrible view.
Yeah.
And we turned it into something that is very in demand. And I think the same here. We had bleacher seats that were pretty ugly. We had the band, and they are back in their home, where I think they're happy to be. And we use this underutilized space to make something really special.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. The space y'all took up was not being utilized, except for the band sitting kind of above it. And
yes, and especially the 1922 Club too.
Yeah.
I mean, those were old classrooms, office buildings that were very underutilized. And so we're not obstructing any seats. We're just taking a space that we had already and making it beautiful.
Yeah, when I moved up here before you were born, way before you were born in 1976, this was a huge stadium. I moved up here from Texas. It was a huge stadium to begin with, but it had these rickety seeming temporary bleachers in the south end zone. That's where I sat for my first game, Ohio State versus Michigan State. But my point being, I thought it was a magnificent place. But boy, when you took those seats out, it was really empty looking. Now, of course, there's not even a track around the field like there was back then. Everything is kind of encroached, and for a lot of people, it's gotten you closer to the action. Do you sense that too?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a totally different experience, but I still think we maintain what it has always been, which is this historic, amazing building.
I was going to say, I've seen a bunch of stadiums expand, change, whatever. You see where in Chicago, where they Soldier Field for the Chicago Bears, it's like they dropped a new stadium inside it. It's never looked right. Now they're moving to Hammond, Indiana. Well, good luck with that. But my point is, it was like Andy Geiger and I were talking about way back when. It was either do something and start getting this thing up to code and bring it into the modern age, or get rid of it for something else.
Yes.
And this is an historic.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can still, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, as I talked about with Mike Penner, you could still see concrete from the old stadium. You can still see arches from the old stadium underneath the new arches that were put up back in 1999, 2000. One last thing. Is it ever a surprise to you, the demand for seating, for being part of this, some 6, sometimes 7 Saturdays a year, football games in Ohio Stadium? I'm stammering because I'm trying to make it grandiose.
Yes.
But it is amazing, right?
We're so lucky to do this. It makes my job extremely easy. But no, because I come here every Saturday. I was born and raised in Worthington, Ohio, so I understand how much this team means to Ohio. So,
hey, when you got people like that working for you, who Lauren and Mike Penner, who can feel it in their bones of what Ohio State means and what Ohio Stadium means. It's in good hands, so to speak. And it's kudos to Ross Bjork for understanding that when he took over as athletic director a couple of years ago, you didn't have to go out and replace everybody. There was some big time talent on hand already in the athletic department, in the facilities department, et cetera. So really nice meeting Lauren there, and Mike Penner I've known for a long time, and like I said, he lives and breathes Ohio State athletics, Ohio State football in particular, and like I said, people will get a chance to go out and see the new part of the stadium, and they've made the first game an attraction, even though it's against Ball State, by putting Jim Tressel's name up in the Ring of Honor. Mike Penner pointed out where that blank space was today, but it won't be blank after September the 5th. So that's going to be cool. Hoping to get Coach Tressel on sooner rather than later to talk about that and other things. He's been on my podcast many, many times, which I appreciate. But the Lieutenant Governor, he's still working hard as Lieutenant Governor. But then past that, September 5th can't get here soon enough. And real quick before we go, as you might have noticed, if you follow me on Twitter, there was a big black stripe removal over the weekend, or in terms of Ohio State football. And Legend Bay, who started the preseason camp sort of on suspension, or he wasn't allowed to practice the first 2 days because of a violation of team rules, this super quick playmaking running back / wide receiver lost his black stripe on Friday or Saturday, and boy, did his team cheer, his new team cheer that news. So just when Julian's saying probably didn't need another weapon, there he goes. He's got it. Arthur Smith has got him on his potential list now of buttons he can push in this new offense under his direction, or this revamped, I don't know, maybe not even revamped, but retuned offense. There's going to be, most of it's going to be similar, but there'll be some new things to keep your eye on. But when you got a guy that can shake and bake like Legend Bay can, wow, man, you've got something. And now it'll be just, we'll see how soon he can get into the swing of things in terms of perhaps being a regular in the offense, because he is a freshman and he's still learning things. But the fact that his black stripe has been removed, man, he means he's a fully fledged Buckeye now that they trust to play for the Buckeyes. That's what that means more than anything else. That and with 5 for 5 going on, you got 5 years to play, 5 full years. Why not use them, right? So we'll see how that goes. But that was big news for the football team over the weekend. Well, with that said, I'm going to come back on Friday's podcast, and going to be talking about a lot of things, not the least of which are the captains that were named over the past weekend, which was interesting because there are 7 of them. But I'm going to pick out a few of them. We're going to run a few interviews with those guys and what they mean to this team, and why it's pretty obvious with some of them why they were picked as captains. 7, that's only happened 7 times now in Ohio State football history where there were as many as 7 captains. But Ryan, they felt really good about it. If you watched my podcast from earlier this week, felt really good about naming that many guys, and they're all quality individuals. But then what those guys, in their mind, what is this football team going to be about? We'll get to that and a lot more stuff on Friday. So until then, I'm Tim May. Come back and see the Tim May Show. We'll see you then.